Hello, good day, everyone. I am Professor Roger Flores, uh, the Associate Professor of the Department of Electrical Engineering of Central Mindanao University. So, today we are going to discuss uh, one of our, or chapter 2 of our subject ES 52, Engineering Management. And this chapter 2 is entitled Decision Making. Okay, so to start, we have here, this is the title of our chapter 2. We have here the decision making. Actually, class decision making is not easy, especially if you are in the time that you need to have to decide immediately. No? So maybe it is easier to decide if you will be given time to gather ideas, gather data, informations. But what if you are if you need to decide ASAP or as soon as possible? So that is a very hard no responsibility being a manager or a leader of a certain organization or a group. Okay, so to start our subject, decision making as a management responsibility. Now, take note that being a manager, you have to decide, you have to say something, you have to give idea, no? So that is a responsibility of a manager. So being a manager, you have to decide, and then we define the decision making here. It is a responsibility of the engineer manager. Okay, it is understandable that sometimes for managers to make wrong decisions at times. Okay, so it is understandable that sometimes we as managers we can commit wrong decisions. Okay, but take note that even though it is acceptable, but it is said that a wise manager will correct them as soon as they are identified. So, in other words, if we found out that we decided something which is unpleasant or it is not really good decision, then being a wise manager, we should be able to correct it immediately, no? As soon as we found out that it is not the right decision that we made. Okay, now this is the issue, or that this is the bigger issue if we managers cannot or do not want to make decisions. Okay, so it's not a good um, good characteristic, or it is not a good performance being a manager if we will not decide, or maybe we'll say, okay, we'll just wait for the decision of the member or the group, no? So I think in a way that sometimes it is understandable, but being a manager, we should have to decide as soon as possible. Okay, so management must strive to choose a decision option as correctly as possible. Okay, management must strive to choose a decision option as correctly as possible. Meaning to say that we should have to strive hard, study, gather information, then try to, what we call this one, try to think, let your ideas, let your mind think, so that we'll be able to have a good option, okay, for our decision making. Okay, so Since they have that power, they are responsible, or we as manager are responsible for whatever outcome that our decisions bring. In other words, whatever the outcome, whatever the result of our decision made, then we are responsible of that. So that is why it is necessary that we should have to do, or that we should have to try our best that our decision is productive and have a good output, because it will reflect being a manager. It will reflect us, no, being a manager. Okay, so what is decision making, therefore? Okay, so according to the definition, decision making is the process of identifying and choosing alternative courses of action. Process of identifying and choosing alternative course of action in a manner appropriate to the demands of the situation. Okay. So when we say identifying, so we identify, determine, or what is really the problem, and then after that we have that problem, then we will try to look for any alternative to solve that problem. Okay, so that more or less, maybe if there is damage, okay, it is just, of course, minimal, no, so that it will not cause any big problem in the company or in the organization. So our course of action should be appropriate to the demand of the situation of having that problem. So decisions are made at various management levels. Now in chapter 1 we discuss about the different management levels, no? You have the higher management level, the middle management level, we have the lower management level. So it depends upon the responsibility, no, amount of the responsibility. Okay, so for the top management level, the higher management level, you have a bigger responsibility. For the middle management, of course, lower. Then for the lower management level, that is the line managers, or so on and so forth. Okay, so decision making, according to William Nichols, okay, according to William Nichols, he said uh, it is the heart of all the management functions. Decision making is the heart of all the management functions. Okay, so because this decision making will bring all the parts of the organization or the system function. Okay, so similar to our heart. Okay, if the heart can send enough amount of oxygen or blood or circulations, then every part of our body will function well. Okay, so that is the what Nickel said, no? It is the heart of all the management functions. So anyway, maybe later on we will know what are other management functions that we have, no? So several management functions. Decision making is just one, and it is the most important, no, the top important function of the managers. Okay, so let us now continue our discussion with this decision making process. Now, according to David Holt, okay, so we have this process involving the following steps, no? So first step, we have this diagnose the problem. Okay, so in an organization, it is very impossible that we don't have a problem. From time to time, we will meet a problem. Okay, even in a small or a bigger organization, from time to time, we will meet a problem, or we will be able to have a problem. So try to discuss, or try to diagnose what is the problem of the organization. Okay, so That is one of our job being a manager. Look for a problem, try to determine what is the problem of the process, the organization, so that as much as still small, or it is not yet delicate to the process of the process and the operations of the organization, more or less we will be able to solve that problem. Okay, so what you're going to do, or what to do if you're going to diagnose problem. Okay, if the manager wants to make an intelligent decision, his first move must be to identify the problem. What is really the problem of the organization? So that is the first move that they are going to do. Then try to analyze the environment. When we see environment, try to analyze internal and external environment, the performance, okay, of the employee, the performance of the process, the performance of your machines, the performance of your equipments, okay, and everything. So try to analyze the environment. So our objective here is to analyze this environmental or environment, is to identify or identification of constraints which may be spelled out as either internal or external. So what are the constraints? For example, if the market of our product is going down, why? So what is the constraints? What is the reason? Okay, so let us try to determine, try to try to spell out. Okay, so it might be internal or external limitation. Okay, so if this is an example of internal limitations, no, for analyzing the environment. For example, in the internal limitations, we have these limited funds, no. Okay, so limited funds available for the purchase of the equipment, for example. Okay, so that is a problem. Where to find funds? Where to find money? Okay, if we are planning to upgrade our system, our equipments, then we should have to think first where to get our fund. Okay, if funding is the cause of uh, slowing down our production, for example, okay, look for, okay, uh, that is an internal, no, that is internal limitations. Another internal limitation maybe is limiting, okay, limited training on the part of the employee. Okay, so limited, okay, being a manager, please do not let your subordinates be uh, obsolete. No? So try to upgrade and try to uh, send your employee, your subordinates for a training, so that they will be updated to what is new in the system. No? So limited training on the part of the employees. That is one of the internal limitation. Or ill-designed facilities. So we have our facilities that, in fact, from the beginning, were able to determine that there's something wrong with the design of this facility. It might not be applicable, or it might not be useful, or something. No, there's something wrong with the facility that we have. Okay, so it might be, it will become one of the internal limitations. Then talking about external limitations, sometimes we will just say no, we cannot do about this. No, that some of the managers just accept it. No, that we cannot do something about it. No, because that is external. That is beyond our capacity. So that is one of the example of the external limitations. Example here is patents. Patents may be controlled by other organizations. Okay, so we have this idea. We're able to make a design, but of course, if the machine, for example, it is patented, so we will not be able to reproduce. We cannot have it make our own based on that machine because it is already patented. It might be charged. We know what is patents. No, it is one of the way that our design will be protected. As a designer, will be protected about that. Okay, so a very limited market for the company's products and services exists. Okay, company's product, limited market. Why? Because maybe we are producing a certain product which is not good, or not what you call this one in the market is not yet known, no. So we should have to do something about it, no? Or even services. Okay, so that is another example of external limitation. Strict enforcement of local zoning and regulations, or zoning regulations. So we will encounter that, no, maybe we will you will encounter that in the localizations and local government. You have several policy. We have these provisions that we cannot build, we cannot have our expansion, so on and so forth, because of this what we call as local zoning. Then of course that is external, because sometimes, as I've said a while ago, we cannot do about it. But anyway, of course, we can always have things can do, no. We can have these things, maybe have we can have a solution of all these things, no. So the environment consists of two major concerns. So as we said, it might be external or internal environment. So we have two major concerns. We have the internal environment, and talking about internal environment, we have the organizational aspects, as we said, marketing aspects. Okay, so that is internal, no, internal environment. Personnel aspects, production aspects, financial also, financial aspects. So these are what we call as environmental, or in internal environment. So there is something wrong with the organizational structures. In other words, there is something problem in the personnels that we have. Okay, in your human resources. Okay, so there's something problem within it. So marketing, in marketing our products. Okay, so production also, and then financial. Okay, the another is external, no, consist concerns, no, external environment. So as we have our example a while ago, so external environment problem, as we said, might be in the zonal, local zoning, so government, or something like if you will be doing or uh, working for a permit, no, permit. So okay, so that is one of the external environment problem, no. And also we might have a problem in labor unions. Actually, these labor unions were allowed by or permitted by the government to be created to protect the member of the organization, or the laborers and the employee, the staff, the workers of the certain organization. So that they will be protected against labor violations. Then we have this creation of an organization which that sometimes will walk um, beyond the limitations. So that is will cause maybe sometimes of chaos in the organization. So problem, external, labor union is one. Then of course suppliers, no? So supply of the uh, the component or the uh, material that we might be using is not available. So supplier is also one of the external environment. Then banks as our financial source institution. Okay, so that is also external environment, and even the public, no. So of course, from time to time we might encounter problems due to the people, due to the community around us, around our company, around our organization. So public, we will deal this one because they are also protected by law. So that sometimes it will become external environment or external problems. And also competitors, no? So in the market there is competition. So that is where we will have our good strategy to have a good marketing strategy, for example, because we have several competitions or competitors around. So maybe for the first time you are working about this, you are producing about this, you are marketing about this. Then next day somebody is already because of course we are our government is promoting entrepreneurship. So maybe next day two of us already is selling something with the same product that you have. Next day, okay, it will produce more and more and more competitors. So work for it. Think of it. That is an external environment. And also clients, your clients, your clients, your what to call this one, your customers will be an external environment. Okay, so even engineers, no, like us now, lack of engineers because our engineers are working abroad. Okay, we only few will live here in our country, so that is why maybe we will lose those good. Of course, we have still left here, but our good engineers are, of course, thinking of going outside the country, maybe because of this what we call as greener pasture. Okay, so that's sometimes we will experience lack of technical people, engineers. Okay, so those are some of the uh, e- external, no, external environments. Next step that you're going to do after analyzing the environment is articulate the problem. Okay, so you identify the problem, you study the environment, you analyze the environment. This time you have to articulate the problem. How to do this? Okay, it is suggested that you have to discuss the problem with a member of the organization. Do not uh, keep it by yourself. Problem of the company. Do not keep it by yourself. Share this problem to your organization, to your member, especially to the highest ranking officials or next to you, your level. Okay. So, and then gather data and information for future reference. Okay, that is very important. Okay, so that is articulate the problem. Next, you have to develop viable alternatives. We have this problem. We study the environment, the constraints. Then next, we have this. We articulate the problem. We have our data. We have the information taken from the member of the organization. And next that you're going to do is try to develop viable alternatives. These are some options, no? Trying to uh, trying to discuss, try to think of the options to solve these problems. Okay, this is made possible by using a procedure with the following steps. First, prepare a list of alternative solutions. So of course, it is normal for us that even children, even our those in the lowest ranks of the organization can be able to give you an alternative to solve the solution or to solve the problem. Okay, to give to alternative solutions to solve the problem. So that is why try to have a list of these alternatives. Okay, next, determine the viability of each solution. How it viable? Okay, so try to evaluate, try to think. Okay, so is it viable? Is it a good alternative, or having a okay? So is it uh, can give this alternative can give us a solution of the problem? Okay, so and then after determining the viability, then revise the list by striking out, okay, from which are not viable. So after listing all the possibilities, the options, the alternative solution, then try to evaluate each of these alternative, and then try to strike out for those who are not so viable. If you think that, of course, it is not a good, it might not be a good solution, then try to strike it out, erase. Okay. Then next is try to evaluate the remaining alternative. Okay, so you have the strike it out. So maybe from many alternatives that you have listed, it reduced to few, and then try to evaluate all these alternatives. Okay, so what you're going to do, proper evaluation makes choosing the right solution less difficult. Okay, out of these several listed alternatives, you evaluated it, and then you strike out all those who are not viable, who which are not viable. Then out of these remaining alternatives, try to evaluate again, because doing this, it is more easier to decide, okay, to choose the right solution. Each alternative must be analyzed, okay, and evaluated in terms of its value, cost, and risk characteristics. Is it valuable? Okay. Is it very important? Does it give us a value, or the necessity? Okay. Is it really necessary? Okay. So that is how you are going to evaluate now. And then the cost. If you're going to use this alternative, if you're going to use this given alternative or solution or options, then is it not costly? Otherwise, if we will just expense much money, of course, it we might lose our organization and our company. So try to analyze also the cost of using or choosing this alternative. And of course, the risk characteristics. Risk is also very important. Otherwise, if it is more risky to do this, to use this alternative, then do not uh, do not do it. No, do not choose it. Choose these alternatives or option. Okay, so you are going to evaluate these remaining alternatives using this value, this cost, and the risk characteristics of your alternatives. Now, the value of the alternative refers to the benefits. Okay, of course, that is what I've said. No, that the benefits that can be expected if you are going to choose this alternative. Okay, so now we have remaining few. maybe options or alternatives chosen, then next thing that you're going to do is you have to choose. Okay, this is the point that the decision maker must be convinced that all the previous steps were correctly undertaken. Of course, if you are convinced that the step number one up to this step, okay, before this step, making a choice, had been done correctly, then this is the time that the decision maker, the manager, the leader will have to do this choosing these alternatives. Okay. Choice making refers to the process of selecting among alternatives representing potential solutions to a problem. Particular effort should be made to identify all significant consequences of each choice. So that is because, as we said, whatever we decided and whatever the outcome, that is your responsibility. Okay? If it is good, then of course we can say that okay, it is your credit. But of course, if there is something wrong with your decision out of these alternatives that been given to you, then of course you have must be ready to all the significant consequences that we have. Okay, so you have chosen, you have your alternative, you choose one of these alternatives. So next that we are going to do is you have to implement decision. Otherwise, it is just wasting your time, money, effort, and everything that you have done if you will not implement what you have decided. Okay? This refers to carrying out the decision so that objective sought will be achieved. Okay, so at this stage, the resources must be available so that the decision may be properly implemented. Okay? So, if we choose this option, this alternative, then see to it that all the required facilities, resources, including equipments, materials, including your human resources, should be available. Otherwise, there's something wrong with our decision making. So those who will be involved in the implementation must understand and accept the solution. Okay? See to it that those who involved in the implementation of the alternative are all convinced also, and they understand what will be doing or what to do in the uh, implementation of the solution. And of course, basically, they accept the alternative or the solution. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is evaluate and adapt decision results. So, it is understood that we implemented these chosen alternatives. Then next is try to evaluate. Okay, if it is in a good result, if we have a good result, then of course adapt the decisions results. So, how to evaluate before we are going to adapt the decision results? So, we need to have this feedback. So, this feedback is an information. It is either from internal, from the personnel, from your laborers, or the low level managers or the supervisors. Then try to ask them. Operators, for example, if you are talking about equipments and okay, so try to ask. This is what we call as internal feedback, or it could be external feedback from the consumers, from the clientels, from the people who use the output of your alternatives. Okay. Then also control, no? So if the design result is achieved, one may assume that the decision made was good. Of course, if you were able to achieve what you are, what you are trying to solve, then your decision is successful and it was good. But if it is not achieved, then according to Farrell and Geoffrey Hurt, that there should be further analysis necessary. Okay, so meaning to say that do not just throw directly through, do not just reject or do not just trash this, put this in the trash can. This solution may be okay. So of course, it's better to have a further study so that it will not just lost our everything that we tried to uh, that we used, no, in achieving this output. Okay, so we have this block diagram of our the block diagram of what we're talking about. Just to summarize, we have this diagnose problem, analyze environment, articulate problem, develop viable alternatives, then evaluate alternatives, then make a choice, so implement decision. Okay, so we have here evaluate results, then if the result is acceptable, then try to adapt the decision results. So if there is something wrong, results not achieved for example, then try to determine which steps error was made. Okay, so just go back, and then this is now what we call as feedback. So as you can see here, we have different arrows here, but this is just to give an idea that it is not necessary that we will go back to the first step, or maybe there is something wrong in the third step. So never mind going back to the first step, the second step, go directly to the third step. Maybe there's something wrong with articulating the problem. That might be because you did not ask your subordinates or any information. You did not gather any information about our problem. Okay, so this is the block diagram of the process that we have in decision making. Okay, so we have some approaches, no? We have some approaches in solving problems. Okay, so we have several approaches in solving problems, no? So one of these approach is qualitative evaluation, using qualitative evaluation, using quality of the performance, quality of the product, quality of the people working. Okay, so we have here the qualitative approach is applicable, no, or it is advisable if the problem is fairly simple. The problem is not so very complicated. So we can use this qualitative approach or evaluation. So if the problem is familiar, if it is familiar, if the problem is, as I've said, it is not so complicated, so just use qualitative. Just base your decision making to solve the problem using this qualitative or the quality, no? Or if the cost involved are not so big, no, or not great, so use qualitative. If it's just if it's not expensive, then use qualitative approach of solving problem. Okay, so immediate decisions are needed if the decision is needed, then try to use qualitative. Okay, if it is ASAP, then try to use qualitative approach of solving this problem. Okay, another approach accordingly is in solving problems is another one is quantitative approach. Okay, or quantitative evaluation. This refers to the evaluation of alternatives using a technique in a group classified as rational and analytical. So a group that is rational meaning reasons, based on reasons. Okay, you have gathered informations, what you have gathered data, for example, then you have to reason out. Okay, and then you have to think analytically, balance or asking uh, asking informations, both sides, pros and cons, so that will be able to decide um, with reasons and with analytical decisions. Okay, so let's go deeper with this quantitative models for decision making. We have several models of decision making, quantitative models, no? So which is useful also. Okay, so one is inventory models. Okay, so maybe you heard what is an inventory, no? What is an inventory? An inventory is trying to evaluate the because inventory is relative to stocks, no? Synonymous to stocks. Okay, so we have several stocks. If the inventory bloated, or we have so many stocks already in our stock room, or yes, then there's something wrong, no? So we try to decide based on the amount or the number of our inventories. Okay, next we have, okay, by the way, we're talking about inventory, we have the economic order quantity model. Okay, economic order quantity model, that will be the quantitative basis of your decision making. Okay, so uh, it might be economical. Okay, if you are going to have a bigger order compared to this is not or if you are going to of course we can save, no? That sometimes if we will be using this inventory model, then we can save, we can we will gain, no, or we can have a more profit because we will be able to uh, we'll be able to maybe have a discount, okay, using this economic order quantity model. Or we can have this production order quantity model. So if we have this, we have uh, producing our product based on the order. Okay, we will not produce many. So we will just produce um, which is necessary and what is uh, what our clients needed. Okay, or we have this back order inventory model. So back order inventory model. So like for example, if you have this order and the supplier deliver it today, then while okay, so upon delivery, we will have another order for the next, okay, for the next time. So we have this what we call as back order inventory model. So for example, we order this material, no? We order for this material for construction. Okay, for example, we are ordering 1,000 bags of cement. Then upon delivery, we will try to order again another 1,000 or this amount for the next delivery. Okay, so it will result to a continuous, no, production. So the flow will might not be uh, disturbed because we have this supply that can be used, no. So that is another quantitative inventory model of decision making. So another one is quantity discount model. Okay, this is where for example, if you will order more, then the amount will become lesser, or um, of course the amount will reduce. If with this bulk orders, then amount will reduce. So we have this quantity discount or model. Aside from inventory models, we have this queuing theory. So I think, I do not know if you heard about queuing theory. Queue. Okay, so this is especially if we have these services, no? If we offer services. So this is another quantitative models for decision making. So like for example, during Christmas season, more customers, and in for example, in the store or in the grocery. So what the grocery or the management will do, then you have to implement more cashiers station, or more employee to assess or whatsoever, no. So queuing is will focus on the waiting time of the customers or the clientels, because as we know, more time will be expensed by the clientele. It will give him discouragement to go back again in your organization or your store. Okay, so do not do not leave this kind of problem. Try to solve this one, because it will result to um, discontentment of your clients or your customers. Okay, we have another one, the network models. So later we have a chapter for this network models. No, we'll discuss. We will go deeper with this one. No, with these network models, it is either PERT or Program Evaluation Review Technique network models, or PERT. Now the other one, so it is a mathematical process evaluation of the given data. So that is PERT. So that the time, the amount could be lessened or reduced. No? So we will have this PERT CPM. Okay, because another one here is this, or network model is this CPM, or the critical path method. So this is a solving solutions using the critical path. The longer time, the shorter time, so on and so forth. And we will try to use this critical path so that we will be able to solve especially problems related to time, amount. Okay, so that is another, no, network models. So we have this per CPM. So critical path method. Another quantitative models for decision making is forecasting. Forecasting is, of course, considering the future trend based on the present or the previous data. Okay, so we should have this recent data or the previous data, historical data, so that all this data will be the basis of forecasting what will be our future needs. Okay, so regression analysis. Uh, this is another, no, regression analysis. This is the mathematical or statistical. Then also simulations. Okay, so simulation is direct using equipments to test, for example, the performance, no? So this is a quantitative, another quantitative approach of decision making. And of course, linear programming. This is more on the making programs to whatever activities that we have. Then sampling theory. So we will be using samples so that we will be able to quantify the output so that we can decide, no, so based on the results. But of course we have also to use statistical decision theory. So based on the statistical data, then we will have to decide. Okay, so thank you very much. That is the end of our discussion. But anyway, all those models will be maybe discussed later for the rest of the uh, or the rest of the chapters that we have in our subject. So for the meantime, thank you very much. I hope that you learn many things, and just to go back something that this decision making is the heart of the management functions, that we should have to try our best that our decision making will have a good output. Thank you, and good day to everyone. Keep safe, and until next chapters or next video discussions that we have. God bless, and bye bye.